So it looks like the situation with the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be picking up quite a bit based on some new rumors and information that's starting to come out, in addition to potentially a big presentation happening this week from a big player who has just confirmed it. A little bit of a follow-up on the video that I did recently as well, plus a surprising game potentially hitting the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. A lot to go over. So we're starting off with the Nintendo Switch 2 and the 3-phase launch plans that Insider Gaming Tom Henderson is claiming over on his page. He is stating that Nintendo's planning to launch the Nintendo Switch 2 in 3 phases, and this is based off of what he's been hearing when it comes to GDC 2025 that happened last week. Now, here's the first part, guys. There will be apparently a big focus on first-party titles at the launch. That is the first focus. The second stage will be claimed to be happening around October or November-ish or so for third-party studios. Big titles coming in at that point, and then the last stage will be the holiday, which specifics weren't necessarily provided. So I have a lot to talk about this because this seems like a little bit of like, duh, okay. There are definitely big third-party developers, publishers, and all that have dev kits down at this point and are going to be releasing games before the October or so, based off of information that's out there. Daniel Ahmed's also talking about that on Twitter. There's been other information and leaks talking about how it's probably going to be sooner than that. So I wouldn't necessarily put everything into that. It's based off of certain GDC developers maybe he spoke to. But yeah, I do think that this plan is interesting because it actually mirrors what the Nintendo Switch 1 plan was if you look at it overall. So let's go over the phases, which I've talked about before. With the Nintendo Switch 1, what was the major thing at the beginning? The major thing at the beginning was first-party games. Yes, there was some third-party, but there wasn't really anything that was heavy-hitting third-party games. Now, I do feel that Nintendo is going to somewhat keep to that, but have a bit more third-party games sprinkled in. You are going to see some major third-party games in the launch phase or even right there at launch. But yes, the major focus will be on the big new Mario Kart, will be on whatever big new Nintendo Switch first party titles that Nintendo is going to have ready to go within the first number of months. I do feel that just like the Nintendo Switch 1, what did we see come in around October, November or so? We saw stuff like Skyrim, we saw Resident Evil, we saw Doom, we saw a lot of the big AAA ports, big AAA franchises overall. So could that be the same thing they're trying to do, kind of get the install base going with big Nintendo first party games, then hit them with the third party titles once there is a bigger install base in order to get better sales? Absolutely. Now, if you look at this plan definitely, I would say, follows with what Nintendo's did with the Switch 1. If you look at the Wii U, for example, that was a plan where they had all their big third-party titles right there at launch, and a lot of them didn't sell very well. People bought New Super Mario Bros. People obviously got Nintendo Land with the pack-in, and they kind of called it a day. Many of the big third-party launch titles with the Wii U did not sell great, despite the Wii U launching, not saying that afterwards, but the first debut launch, first month or so from that November to December, there was actually a good amount of sales, but the software for third-party developers just wasn't there when it comes to sales overall. So I think that Nintendo is definitely cognizant of that. They know that their system is unique compared to Xbox and PlayStation, where a lot of people buy those systems for the third-party games. It's a little bit different for Nintendo. A lot of people actually buy Nintendo systems for their first-party games. I would say the large majority of people purchase Nintendo systems so they can play the next Mario, the next Zelda, the next Pokemon, the next Animal Crossing. So that is going to be a major focus and very important for the Nintendo Switch 2. And I've been stating this for a while now at this point. I still feel that June is the launch target area, which once again, it says here that June seems to be the target launch month for the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, Insider Gaming also notes that some dev kits will be sent in June, but that seems to apply to smaller development teams. The big teams like Square Enix, Capcom, Ubisoft have already gotten their dev kits and access to them and provided way earlier than that. So I do once again feel that there will be some big third-party games sprinkled in when it makes sense in between that. But yeah, the launch plans kind of mirror what they did with the Nintendo Switch 1, hit them with those big first-party titles. There's going to be some big big third parties here and there, but maybe more at the end of the year as well, like we saw with Skyrim and Doom and Resident Evil, where Nintendo kind of had Super Mario Odyssey and Fire Emblem before all of that, or kind of almost right there, but then a lot of those big games took up November and December for the holiday period, on top of everything else that Nintendo released. Clearly, people were buying Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, people were buying Super Mario Odyssey, people were buying Fire Emblem Warriors, people were buying Mario plus Rabbids, people were buying Pokémon Tournament. There was just a bunch of games, Splatoon 2 to play, ARMS as well. I think that that plan works, and they're going to try to stick to that. But what you guys should try to stick to is, for those that are not subscribed to the channel, to stick to this channel and hit that subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Also, make sure you hit that like button and click that notification bell to get my videos as soon as they drop. Now, let's go ahead and jump into the next topic here, because Nate the Hate is back. This is once again a follow-up on what we discussed the other day, with there potentially being a Nintendo Direct, a Nintendo presentation, or something this week, potentially on Thursday, since today is Tuesday, as of the day that I'm recording this. So nothing's going to happen tomorrow on Wednesday unless there is a shadow drop, but I'm guessing that something will be announced tomorrow, and then it'll happen on Thursday, at least based off of what Nate the Hate is saying here. This is following up, once again, a couple other sources, or like 2 or 3 other sources that were implying, one implying with Andy Robinson, and 2 basically stating that there will be a Nintendo presentation. So here's what Nate the Hate had to say on Twitter. Quote, "To stop the constant questions, yes, I've heard there is a Nintendo presentation this week. I believe it is on/around Thursday, and it will be a Direct, but I'm not 100% certain on the format at present." So there you go. Nate the Hate has spoken. Some people don't want to say that something's happening or not based off of whether Nate says it or not. And it was so funny because I was like, well, you know, Nate's not necessarily the full authority on all things rumors. There are some things that he doesn't hear about, or something some people know when it comes to some things. So we can't just say, if Nate doesn't say it, then it doesn't happen. But obviously, people have a lot of trust in Nate. He was the guy who let us know exactly when the Nintendo Switch 2 would be officially revealed and shown off by Nintendo, and even described how there wouldn't be a lot of games at that first presentation, or that first video, which was the case. All they had was Mario Kart, the new game. But they had something, but that's all they had. And he said, hey, that could be the case here. So Nate has a lot of clout, obviously a lot of trust with so many people out there. So to hear him give this confirmation that yes, he has heard that there will be something on or around Thursday, then yeah, looks like it's going to be happening. And he said on or around Thursday, so that could be Wednesday, that could be Friday. On or around Thursday could mean a lot of different things. You know, he's not locking it down, but it seems like Thursday might be that day. But once again, it could be shadow dropped. We just don't know. Nintendo could just put out a video. Remember, the Nintendo Switch 2 announcement trailer was just shadow dropped as well. That's a pretty big announcement, but I do think that that shock value of having it there, like, oh my gosh, they've announced it, let's talk about it, and all the streams and everything that went up and everything that people were talking about was kind of crazy and almost like viral marketing, and it really worked. Everyone was talking about it, and people have not stopped talking about the Nintendo Switch 2 since then. People have been talking about it for years now, so this is one of the most anticipated systems, and obviously a Nintendo Switch 1 presentation beforehand. It looks like they're going to focus in on Nintendo Switch 1 games, because despite what anybody wants to say about Nintendo Switch 2 or focusing on one or the other or anything, there's still a large amount of people, probably millions upon millions of people, that are still going to be playing Nintendo Switch 1 even when the Nintendo Switch 2 is out, and those people are going to need content as well. It's still a very healthy and vibrant business. Despite Nintendo's hardware sales going down year on year, the active users and the amount of software being sold is still a very good amount, and it's actually put Nintendo in a position that they've never been in before when it comes to the health of their previous system before the next system comes out, or more like the health of their current system before the next system comes out. Usually in the past, Nintendo's current systems are pretty much on their last legs and done, and nobody's buying anything, nobody's checking out the software, the hardware, or anything like that, and they have to move on, and it takes quite some time. We saw that with the Wii to the Wii U, we saw that with the GameCube to the Wii. I mean, it's happened so many times at this point, but with the Nintendo Switch, it's not that. It's still the top selling system in Japan, it still gets plenty of sales worldwide, and it still has a good amount of software sold every single month, and people are still supporting the system. There's over 100 million active users based off of Nintendo's data, so I do think that this Nintendo Switch 1 Direct or presentation or partner showcase or something could show off some stuff that looks actually pretty interesting. Now, some have asked what it's going to be? Well, we don't know what type of Direct it is. If it's a normal Nintendo Direct, then obviously they can have stuff like Legend of Zelda. When it comes to Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, they can have Metroid Prime 2, Metroid Prime 3. They can have a number of different things. But if it's a partner showcase, then maybe not all that stuff. I mean, there's been first-party games sometimes there, but it's never a ton of them. So we just don't know. Could be an Indie World showcase. Who knows at this point, because Nate doesn't know the presentation format at this point. He's not 100% sure, and he wasn't willing to let us know. He says not 100%. Maybe he's like 85% and just doesn't want to say it. So it is what it is on that front. So what do you guys think when it comes to potentially this presentation happening this week, pretty soon here? Let me know in the comment section. But now we're going to move on to a game that I thought wouldn't actually be on a Nintendo platform, considering the lawsuit and everything that's going on, and that is Pocket Pair's Palworld. Apparently, they are considering a release for the Nintendo Switch 2. So Palworld has been a massive success for Pocket Pair. They've been able to sell millions upon millions of copies and have gotten some different updates and have an okay sizable base of people playing across the PC and the console. But with the Nintendo Switch 2 around the corner, it looks like Pocket Pair could be setting their eyes on this system. So IGN caught up with the company's communication director, John Buckley at GDC, who said that while Pocket Pair hasn't necessarily seen the Nintendo Switch 2 or the specs or anything like that, if the console is beefy enough, then they could consider it releasing the game on the platform, because they would like to have it on as many handhelds as possible. So here's what he had to say, quote, "We haven't seen those specs yet. Like everyone else, we're waiting. I'm walking around GDC hoping someone will tell me, but everyone I've spoken to says they haven't seen them. If it's beefy enough, it's 100% worth considering. We did a lot of optimization for Steam Deck, which we're really happy with. Still work to do, but we're really happy with how it turned out. So we'd like to get it on more handhelds if possible." And I just want to point out that Palworld has never worked for me on my Steam Deck. I have a Steam Deck OLED. I bought one last year, I think, around the time that Palworld came out, Steam Deck OLED, and it's never worked. It's never even gotten close to working. It just doesn't boot up, and I've tried different things. I'm pretty sure there's some type of configuration or file that I have wrong or something, but it just doesn't work from the startup. So I will say that, yes, you guys worked hard, and I'm pretty sure people can play it on their Steam Deck, but I have still not gotten it to work on my Steam Deck. Now, I haven't tried it in a while, but every time that I tried it, it didn't work. So if you guys have tips to how to get it work on my Steam Deck, let me know if there's something that you got to do beforehand, because I saw other people just play the game, download it and play, and for me, it never worked. Worked on my PC just fine, played great, but on my Steam Deck, couldn't even get the game to boot up overall. So yeah, that was a problem. But anyway, let's get back into this. I think that Nintendo Switch 2 might actually have more success for Palworld than other consoles like the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series. Xbox, it's on Game Pass, so it is what it is on there. But PlayStation, I don't think it's on their service, if it is or not. But I think that people would actually be excited to play it because of some of the parallels, almost like a parody of Pokemon at times overall. Plus, they got a bunch of new updates and everything. Now, Palworld is on the original Xbox One. You can play it on there if I'm not correct. I actually played it on my Xbox One S, and it doesn't play that great on there. It's 30 frames and kind of looks pretty crusty overall. Looks better on my Xbox Series X, but yeah, it's on the Xbox One S. So if it's on the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, yes, the Nintendo Switch specs are going to be beefy enough if you can put it on that system. Obviously, Steam Deck, if it runs on there, from what we understand with the Nintendo Switch 2, yeah, you're definitely going to be able to get Palworld going if they feel like optimizing and considering it for that platform, which maybe. We got to see how the lawsuit works out, right? How is that going to work? It's like, hey, we want to release on your system while we actively have a lawsuit against different things. Now, knowing Nintendo, they'll probably still allow it based off of certain things. There's been times when they've had bad relations with certain companies, but still release something or something still comes out. So I do think that it's very much possible that Palworld still does come out on the Nintendo Switch 2, just based off of Pocket Pair and them wanting to make money. And obviously Nintendo having a game like that, that's clearly going to make a lot of money. I do think a lot of people on the Nintendo Switch 2 would actually pick up Palworld if it was on there, especially since it's been updated quite a bit now from when it first launched last year. But we're going to have to wait and see. Things get really tricky with the whole lawsuit and everything that's going on there. And we don't even know how long that lawsuit is going to last. Last time that I played Palworld was last year, and while I think it's okay, like it's fine for what it is, it definitely feels incomplete. I have not played the new updates or anything, but I just got kind of tired of just grinding away over and over and over, building bases. The pals were really stupid in the base. They'd often get stuck on things, and whenever there was like a raid or something, a lot of times the AI wouldn't work properly. The pals would fall all over the place. Like there was a lot of problems overall, and I know that there's been updates, so anytime that I've asked people about like who still plays and how are the updates, is the AI any better, everyone still tells me like the same thing, the same enemy patterns, the same bad AI and things like that. So hopefully it gets improved, or if it has improved, you guys can let me know in the comment section. I know there's this new update that they released, and the update seems like it's pretty cool. You got crossplay, and you got some like different stuff that you can do in raid battles and stuff that you can team up with your friends in order to play. So I'm hoping that if they do decide to release it, and Nintendo allows the release as well, that it comes together as a better package compared to when I first played it. But what do you guys think about this when it comes to everything that we talked about? Nintendo Switch 2 launch plans, Nate the Hate talk about a Nintendo Switch presentation sometime this week, and of course Pocket Pair and Palworld releasing maybe on the Nintendo Switch 2. Let me know in the comment section below. Alright guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other Nintendo Switch 2 RPG content and more right here on screen. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.